Greetings, Minimoys, I'm the Casual Prince, and welcome back to the highly requested continuation of my review of Arthur and the Revenge of Maltazard. I've just recorded, I've just recorded myself reading this chapter, chapter 13, and, I'm a bit surprised, to be perfectly honest. So, let's get straight into it. So, last chapter was a bit of a weird one, because it veered off completely from, what happens in the movie, and that Arthur arrives at the Minimoy village, and everyone is missing. And, obviously that's not what happens in the movie at all, because he arrives with Betameche, which doesn't happen in the book, seemingly, and he gets here, and all the Minimoys are just gone. So we begin this chapter with Arthur, walking through the main square, and it's just completely empty. And we get a bit of a lengthy dialogue about the Minimoy tradition on April Fools. That, like, every morning of every day, the villagers celebrate the flower of the day. And I think that might have been something that was mentioned in the first couple of books, but I can't remember. And then the tears from those ceremonies are collected, and on April Fools, they pour them out next to a statue of a gigantic fish carved in stone. And it's a bit of a weird bit of, like, description. There's literally, like, 3 paragraphs detailing a tradition of, like, their ceremonies every morning to do with the flower of the day, and then them collecting the tears and pouring them out on April Fools next to a giant carving of a fish. Anyway, that's a bit weird. And Arthur, he sits down on one of the stones, and it literally says the words, he's very depressed, because, like, he doesn't know what to do, because he's in the Minimoy village. He's rushed to get there, he's faced insurmountable odds from, like, his parents and the vines and yada yada yada. And then he gets here and that no one's here. And then he notices that there's a Minimoy lying on the ground in front of the palace. And he thinks at first that he might be dead, but it turns out that he's just sleeping. And he wakes up the guard, and the guard's originally like, the palace is under attack! And like, king, to me! We're under attack! Help! But then Arthur's just like, calm down, it's me, Arthur. And he's just like, Arthur, is that you? And he says the line, I suppose this is a little bit different than what I usually do, but this is definitely one of my favourite little bits, so I'll read it out. Actually, no, I won't read it out. I'll show you the clip of me reading it out, because you can see, like, my facial reactions to it. So, here it is. Arthur? The guard babbles, abashed that he didn't recognise him the first time. Yes, it's me, Arthur Begantol, the grandson of Archibald and husband of Selenia. Arthur still hasn't grown accustomed to the thought he married a princess. The matrimony was so short, happened in presence of so few witnesses, just one, that it's hard to believe such a happy event really took place. So, yeah, that's definitely one of my favourite lines, because, well, you know I like any mention of Arthur and Selenia's relationship. But the guy's just like, oh, so, what brings you here? Like, the day is just, well, the night is just normal. And he sort of just goes like, I dozed off for a little bit, don't tell anyone. And then Arthur's like, okay, no problem. And then the guard literally shouts, Arthur is back. And then the whole village just wakes up. And frankly, now that I think about it, I don't know why I never considered that. Because now that I think about it, it seems really, really obvious. But, like, I don't know why, I don't know why I thought, I don't know why I thought that they would all be awake. Like, I was gonna say, I guess it's because of what happens in the movie, but by the time Arthur gets there in the movie, it's like in the morning, so you would expect people to be up. But it is it's like, it literally says that he used the vines at midnight, and it's been about an hour, so we were talking about time in the last, review episode, so it's likely around 1 in the morning. And I guess I don't know why. I don't know why I just didn't consider that they would all be asleep. I guess I just thought that because it was the 10th moon, like, you know, they'd wait for him, and they'd probably have a whole ceremony, set up for him. So I would have thought it would have taken them a little bit more than, like, an hour to, like, put it all away and go back to sleep. It's just like, they seem to have dismissed Arthur not being here really, really quickly. So all of these mini-moys come out from all the houses, they're all sleeping, and they're yelling and screaming for Arthur because, you know, he's back. And then, lo and behold, who comes to greet him? None other than Betameche. Because, apparently he was sleeping too. So, here's my reaction to Betameche returning. Suddenly, someone leaps out of the crowd and literally sweeps the boy off his feet, knocking him onto the ground. Betameche? Arthur calls, recognizing the assaulter's face. Arthur, is that really you? The tiny man chokes from delight. The friends are hugging each other with all their strength and roll on the ground like two lion cubs playing around. What a sight of joy. But where were you? Arthur finally asks. I was so worried. Oh dear, we were sleeping. Do you know what time it is? Betameche answers, showing him an hourglass he wears on his joint. So yeah, and then it goes into, then it's the whole thing about saying that the village is underground, and it's hard to tell the time of day, but Arthur deducts that it is the middle of the night, like, I'd say it's probably about 1 in the morning. And then the king shows up, and he's quite angry at first. He's like, who has awoken me in this hour? I imagine it's not quite that grand, because we all know that the king is not the grandest of men by himself. He's not riding on the Mogoth, which I don't think I've actually stated it before, because it's stated in the first book, but I never finished reading the first book for the channel, which I need to go back to that series. I haven't done a video on it in like a year, probably over a year, definitely over a year. Yeah, I need to go back and read the other 2 books. For the channel, that is. I did a series a long time ago when I started reading the first book, and I only read like 4 chapters of it. So the king's not even on Mogoth, and in the books, Mogoth is actually called Palmito. I'm not sure if it's stated that he is a Mogoth, and Palmito is just his name, or if Mogoths are called Palmitos in the books, I don't know. So he's just like, who dared to awake me? And then Betameche literally pushes Arthur forward, and it's implied that he tells them about the grain of rice, and just like the movie, they think it's a really funny idea that anyone wrote on a grain of rice. And then there's an introduction of a small little character called Hermit Targ, who's apparently the court writer, and who also paints during his free time. And he apparently finds the idea interesting. But the king sort of deducts that someone played a joke on Arthur. And Arthur deducts that it's not obviously anyone in his family because, and he states this, Grandpa doesn't like these type of jokes. Grandma's too busy cleaning up. Mum's eyesight is too poor to write such small letters, and Dad's patience is too little to write anything. I didn't actually read that properly the first time. It's too little to write anything. His father just doesn't write. That reminds me of the scene in the War of Two Worlds movie where he's writing the check, and I can just imagine him writing just like, he writes the $sign and then he just starts screaming because he's so impatient. He's just like, dollar. Ah! It's taking too long! Oh, that's a funny thought. But yeah, and that's where the chapter ends. He literally, and he makes the deduction that if it wasn't someone from his household, it must be someone from the Minimoy, someone down in the Seven Kingdoms. And that's where the chapter ends. So, I really hope that the next chapter will provide a little bit more context. Not as to what's happening, because like I said, it's quite obvious what happened, because it's 1 in the morning and the Minimoys are sleeping, and I'd never really thought of that. But it's kind of obvious now. But, I think next chapter, will hopefully have the king actually ask where Arthur was. Because I'm finding it a bit weird that the first thing, because what made me a bit, like, curious is the king says the words, "Forgive me for not looking my best, but what are you doing here in the middle of the night?" And I find it a bit weird that it's like, you do realise that tonight was the 10th moon, right? The Minimoys, pretty much worship Arthur at this, after the first book. But they act as though they didn't know he was coming. And I don't know whether that's just going to be sort of explained away in the next chapter, like they're going to ask what happened, like why weren't you here at midnight? Or if it's just, I don't know, because it's weird. It just seems weird that the king asked, why are you here? Like, of course he's here! It's the 10th moon! It's the one time in 10 months that he can visit all of you. Why, yes, I'm here, it's the 10th moon. Like, what are you doing here? In what universe do you not know why he's here? It's confusing. Because they're acting on the impression that they don't know why he's here, and it's like, of course he's fucking here. It's the one time in 10 months that he can visit, and it's like, why are you here? So, I really hope that gets explained away in the next chapter, because that seems a bit peculiar and a bit odd. Because I honestly expected the king's first thing to be like it is in the movie. Because he says, like, it's great to see you again. And then immediately after he says, what happened to you? Like, why weren't you here at midnight like we all thought you were going to be? But he asks why he's here. So, I don't know. And hopefully, next chapter, we might get a few more mentions of Selenia. Because I can imagine Arthur's a little overwhelmed right now. But I can imagine that his sort of next thought is going to be like, right, Betameche is here, the king's here, where's Selenia? And that's what I want to know, because, I mean, I don't really know if, we don't have any context over what happened in the books for this 10th moon yet. We don't know, I mean, frankly, with how the king's reacting, the Minimoys could have forgotten the 10th moon from what it seems like. I mean, they're acting like they don't know why he's here. But maybe Selenia's outside, like she is in the Revenge of Maltazard, because I would imagine after, well, no, because Miro says in the movie that she stayed in the transit hall for many hours. So maybe, like, Arthur goes to the transit hall and she's still there, maybe. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe, and maybe she just sleep. No, she can't just be sleeping. That doesn't seem right. She's gonna, I guarantee you, she's gonna be grieving or something. This is Selenia we're talking about. Like, she loves Arthur with all her heart. She's not gonna just sleep it off. She's gonna be grieving. So, frankly, this chapter is a bit confusing, but I'm very excited for the next chapter. And like I said, I have started recording my reactions to the chapters. Because specifically because we must be getting close to the truth of what happened to Selenia's mother. And I do, thanks to someone commenting on Arthur 5, I have somewhat of an idea of what it actually is. But I want to read it for myself. So, translator, I know you're watching this because I know you love these videos. Send me the chapter, send me chapter 14 ASAP, because I don't want, like, usually, it's like a couple of weeks between these. I don't want to wait, because, like, I will literally do my next video after this one on the next chapter, because we're getting into the good shit now, and I really, really, really want to, I want to see the reunion, and I want to learn the truth. So, next chapter, ASAP. Thank you for everything, by the way. You know I appreciate all of this. Because obviously without you, translator, I wouldn't have been able to, read all of these chapters and read the books. So, thanks. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully next chapter will provide a little bit more context. Although now that I think about it, it might involve a little bit of a flash to, Armand and Rose. Maybe going back to the Susho household. And maybe Archibald and Daisy. Again, that whole scene. Which I'd be alright with as well. But I really, really, really want to know what happens, like, what's happened to Selenia. Like, where is she? Why is she not rush out to meet him as well? Because, I mean, clearly she's not just sleeping, because if she was and heard, you know, Arthur is back, she'd be the first one to run out of her house. I mean, we don't even know if she has her house in this one. We don't know. Because so far, the movie version of the Revenge of Maltazard has made up quite a lot. Like, it made up the whole thing with, like, Betameche and Paradise Alley and everything. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. And I will see you on another video very, very soon. Goodbye, everyone. I just remembered I did the wrong intro. Later, Minimoys. Oh, it's going to take a while to get used to.